guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige and this is my open book. In today's video, I'm trying to get into the fall spirit, okay? So grab a drink and grab a snack and let's chat about some of my favorite fall book recommendations. We're giving basically the romance books that I think give the best like autumnal vibes. So I broke this up into 3 different categories and there's gonna be 4 books in each category. So we're gonna have 12 books to recommend for you today. The first category is like football, back to school season, like that part of fall. Then we have like the cozy campfire, log cabin, mountain man type of fall. And then we have the more like paranormal, not all of them are dark, but more like spooky, like eerie, or just like magical, witchy, like that kind of vibe. How many times am I gonna say vibe in this video? Leave your guesses down below in the comments. Listen, we just can't help it, okay? All right, so let's start with the more like football, back to school season type vibe. Okay, first we have the St. View High series from L. Thorpe. This is a reverse harem. Why choose? This does start in high school. Normally I think when people hear high school romances, they immediately get turned off, but just trust me with this one, okay? This opens up a whole universe in L. Thorpe's backlist in the city of St. View. And it's kind of one of those towns where it's very much like the have versus the have-nots. Like there are some like gritty parts of the town that there's like a lot of crime. And then there are other parts of the town where it's like the really rich, like private school, like that kind of thing. So it just creates a lot of great plot and drama and tension in my opinion. And the way this particular one starts off, this series is 3 books and the female main character has recently lost someone in her life and she's trying to investigate who did it. Basically, she was there when it happened and it was from a fire at a school. And she has like some memories, but they're like kind of like missing memories also. So she's trying to like piece it back together and figure out who done it. And she has to start going to a new school. One thing she does remember from that night, I think it's her uncle that she loses if I'm not mistaken. One thing she remembers from that night is the person who carried her out of the fire was wearing a sweater from the new school that she's going to. So this kind of like starts her investigation so she can kind of see like if she can figure out who did it basically. And it ends up being where she gets chemistry with this one guy right away and he is on the football team. So this also gives a little bit of football, but there's not really that much football going on in here. So she has a romance with him and then he has friends and that's all I'm gonna say. Like I said, this opens up a whole universe of L. Thorpe books that I think are just amazing. Like if you want something to binge this fall season, I think you should definitely go with this because it starts with this high school set of the 3 books and then the next series is set in the same town and it's like kind of interconnected characters, but then it's like in a prison setting, so you're getting a little bit of like a dark romance aspect and it's like a murder mystery kind of thing as well. And then the next set of books involves a serial killer. So I think it's great for the fall season if it's something you want to binge. They're all on Kindle Unlimited and some of them even have the audiobooks like on Hoopla, I believe. So I really recommend checking this out. Her writing is so good and they are all reverse harem, like why choose these first 3 series I'm talking about, but it goes into more series after that where you get a little bit more variety. So I love them. The next 3 are all college football. I didn't realize that until I had my list in front of me that they're all college football. So I guess that's what I like in the fall season. I guess it combines like football season and like back to school. It's like a 2-for-1, okay? So first we have The Rivalry by Nikki Sloan. And just like the title says, this is between 2 characters who I believe go to like rival colleges if I'm not mistaken. And the male character is a football player. Nikki Sloan just writes really great spice in my opinion. And this is kind of an underrated book from her because everyone talks about her like sex club series. Can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. She also wrote like the Nashville Neighborhood series, which is really good. So I have loved like everything that she's written honestly, and this is definitely a good one. If you like the whole college football competitive like rival team, like an enemies to lovers kind of vibe in a college setting. So I really like it. I can't fall for him. He might be everything I want, all rolled into the glorious package. But there's one teeny tiny problem. The vile, loathsome team I've spent my entire life hating. My beloved school's arch rival. This guy is their star player. So again, if you are a sports team fan, even if it's not football, like, you know that feeling where you have like your team that you have rooted for your entire life, and like that is like your baby. So if anyone like competes with that, or if anyone like tries to diss on your team, like, you do take that personally. So this one has really great tension, and I liked it. It was very, very cute, very cute. The next college football romance I'm going to recommend, this is not like a secret one by any means. I'm sure everyone would recommend this one, but this is Blindside by Candy Steiner. This is one of my favorite books that Candy Steiner has written, and I read like some of the books in this series, not all of them, but this is still my favorite for sure. This one has the trope in it where the female main character is the more like innocent, and he is teaching her things. But to take it a step further, she's like a bookworm, so he like teaches her and like acts out the scenes from her favorite books on her, and it's just chef's kiss. This is also like a fake dating. He's on the football team. Why do they have to fake date? Do I remember that? Absolutely not. Let me see if I can look it up. Oh, that's right. So he recently went through a breakup, and he's trying to make his ex jealous, and then she has a crush on this other guy, and he's supposed to like help teach her like how to date this new guy, because she is a virgin. She's never been in a relationship before. She's like too shy and nervous. She's an introvert. Yeah, so they're gonna fake date, and it's just so good. It's just so good. Like, if you love like the lessons trope, this is also like opposites attract. Yeah, I love it. And this is the second book in the series, and I never read the first book, so you could definitely go into this as a standalone. You don't need to read the first book to go into this, so I highly recommend. And the good thing about it is, if you love college football, this is part of a series, so there's I think like 5 books in the series now. Yeah, 5 books in the series, so another thing you can binge on Kindle Unlimited. You're welcome. Okay, next one I have Dare You to Hate Me by B. Celeste. Unfortunately, this is not going to be a bingeable one. I personally haven't been a fan of the other books in this series, but this one I think is a standout, and I wanted to still include it. This gives like childhood friends to lovers, but it also gives like second chance enemies to lovers, and it's college football. So I really like it. It does also dive into some like deeper topics. The female main character, she had a really rough childhood, and that's kind of why she clung to the male main character when they were growing up, because he was kind of like her escape, or her like safe haven during the terrible childhood she had. And she decides to run away at the age of 16. But her best friend does not go with her, and she kind of takes that really personally, just based on like all the things that had gone on. So they never reconnect. She's been like a runaway. She's been flying under the radar, kind of traveling from town to town, just trying to survive, honestly. Like, truly, she really was just like worrying about survival, and like that was it. Well, now she is going to college, and what college is she going to? The same one as her long lost friend from when she was growing up. So he still has feelings for her. He never really stopped. And he feels awful about the way things happen. So, but she obviously has a lot of bad blood still, and there's a lot of history there. And I love when the two main characters have history. Like, the tension and the angst in this book is top tier, okay? Top tier. I loved it. I loved it. And I especially love how it was also like not even just about them getting together romantically. Like, obviously it's a romance, that does happen. But it's also about just like rebuilding their friendship. Like, and getting over that like dark time that they went through, and like how they can come out on the other side, like now that they're kind of like new people, you know, like it's been a long time since then, so they really are new people now, and they have to kind of like relearn how to be friends again. And I really like that dynamic, so I highly recommend this book. The other books, not so much, but this one at least is worth mentioning in my opinion. Okay, so now we'll get into the more like cozy log cabin, like mountain man energy, okay? So first we have Forever and Ever by Lucy Score. Lucy Score, she just does well with the whole grumpy sunshine dynamic. Like, some people might think it's overdone, but I'm gonna tell you you're wrong. Because Grumpy Sunshine will always be superior to me. And she has been out in the city life for most of her life. She's coming back to the small town she was raised in. Kind of similar to the last one, where her and this guy have so much history. Like, this is one of those really small towns where they're connected in so many ways. It's kind of forbidden on his end because it's his boss's daughter. And then she also was best friends with his ex-wife. Like, he ended up marrying her best friend, like, back in the day. And she also had a fling with his brother back in the day. And I'm pretty sure there's something else I'm not remembering at the time. But yeah, there's like so many ways that they're connected and they really like shouldn't be together. But we all know how that goes. Sometimes you just can't resist when you're like meant to be, okay? This one also kind of has like a suspenseful element because there's something from her past that made her come back to the small town, and you as the reader don't know the whole story, and the main character is also trying to figure out like, but why are you here? Like, clearly something happened because you haven't set foot in this town in like most of your life. So what's happening? Is you just kind of like playing it off like, oh no, it's fine, like I just missed home, like, you know, don't worry about it. But she is like scared and she is clearly on the run from somebody or something. So I think it gives a good like romantic suspense element, and again, great angst and tension. Like, that's what I love. I love when characters have history together and you're kind of like unfolding all of that history like now. I love that. I love where you kind of have to figure it out as you go, and like all these little nuggets get revealed along the way and you're just like, yes, 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 yes. I love it. This was a standalone from Lucy's Score that I wanted to read before I went into her Knock 'Em Out series, and it was really, really good. I gave it 5 stars, and I still think that you should read it. I feel like this one is so underrated because everyone talks about the Knock 'Em Out series, and everyone talks about, like, what's the other one with the pink dress on the cover? I don't remember what it's called, but everyone talks about that one. But like, to me, this one's pretty up there as one of my favorite like Grumpy Sunshine romances of all time. Next we have Hideaway Heart by Melanie Harlow. This one is really cute because it is about a female main character who's like a pop star, inspired by Taylor Swift, clearly. And the male main character is a former, I think he was like in the Marines or like military, Navy SEAL kind of energy. And he owes one of his friends from the service basically his life because, you know, he saved his life. So he owes him a favor. And his friend cashes in on that favor by asking the main character to be a bodyguard for his sister, who is the pop star. So she is trying to get a break from it all. She goes to this remote cabin in a small town and she wants to be by herself, but everyone is worried about her safety. So they basically like force her to take this bodyguard, and she is like not having it. It's a small cabin, it's one bed, kind of like enemies to lovers if you want to call it that. There's definitely hate to love going on. She does like not want him to be there, and she's like mad that he's being so stubborn and won't leave her alone, because that's all she wants is to be left alone, do her own thing, not do what everyone tells her to do, and he just like won't let her do that. But we love a good bodyguard romance. The protective vibes are here and I love it. And yeah, it gives like the cozy fall vibes because they're in like a remote cabin in the woods. And there's even like a really spicy campfire scene that really pushes it over the edge. So I highly recommend. Okay, I think the rest of these I have physically, so hopefully I can put my phone away now. Okay. The next 2 cozy ones I have are All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This is the only one I've been able to read by Mariana Zapata because I'm not usually a slow burn fan, okay? I'm pretty sure it was until, like, I'm pretty sure this little tab right here is like the first time they kiss, and it's like this close to the end of the book. So, slow burn is not usually my thing, okay? I've tried to read other books by Mariana Zapata and I DNF'd them, but this one, there's just something about it that like I couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down. This one is about a female main character whose mom has recently passed, and she's trying to kind of like reconnect to her mom and her childhood and things like that. So she is going on like her own little journey through this mountain town that she remembers exploring with her mom when she was younger. And she wants to kind of like make her own life for herself after going through this hard time. She answers an ad for a room to rent in someone's garage, and she shows up and the guy thinks that she's breaking in. She's like, no, I rented the room. He's like, this room is not for rent. What do you mean? Well, he's a single dad. He has a teenage son who posted the room for rent because he was trying to make money without telling the dad, I guess. I don't know. It's hilarious. Like, could you imagine like going to, you know, move in and someone like thinks you're intruding and they're like trying to get rid of you And also from his point of view, could you imagine someone just like randomly trying to live in your garage? You're just like, who the hell are you? So their meet cute is definitely entertaining, and just like the things that these characters have gone through in their lives and like the way they're able to like heal through each other. And I know like in romance books, a slow burn is not always as appealing or as sexy or as exciting like with the pacing, but this really is like how it would happen in real life. I think like this definitely felt real to me. Like it felt like because of what these characters have gone through, they wouldn't just jump into a relationship right away. It would take time, you know? And the fact that he's a single dad with a teenage son, that whole dynamic was really cool, because you also get like his character development, the son's character development, which I really liked. And yeah, I love it. If you like small town, I think you're still gonna like this. Like I said, it's definitely a slow start. Like I didn't tab anything until like probably 60% into the book. So, and I don't think they kiss until like 90-80%, something like that. So if you're like me and you don't usually like slow burn, try this one. I feel like it'll be like a good happy medium for you, because there's still like stuff going on that I think keeps you invested if you are a character-driven reader like me. Okay, next we have one of my all-time favorites, The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. Another classic grumpy sunshine. This is about a female main character who lives in Toronto, city in Canada. She's a city girl, and she is trying to reconnect with her long-lost father, who is a bush pilot in Alaska. So this is very extreme small town. Like, if you think you've read a small town romance before because it takes place in like Georgia or Montana, like no, this Alaska takes it to the next level. Like they have nothing. It is so remote and such a small town, and like the way that they live in this town is so different from how our society is in like the mainland, right? So I love that aspect alone. Like I feel like even if it didn't have a romance, I would still enjoy the book, because I just love learning about what it's like living in a town like that. And the main character is a grumpy pilot who is tasked with bringing her onto the remote land that her dad lives in, and he has been close to her dad, you know, for most of his life, so he is also kind of like fighting that like jealousy towards her. Like, who are you to come in and all of a sudden act like the daughter when I've been the one helping him this entire time? Like that kind of tension also I think really adds something deep to it. And yeah, this is like one of my all-time favorites. I kind of want to reread it soon, so maybe I will reread it this fall season, because it just gives me like the warm, cozy log cabin vibes that I really crave in this season. So I highly recommend checking this out. Okay, now we get into the more like paranormal romances. So first we have Hollow by Karina Halley. This is definitely a dark romance, so check your triggers. This is Karina Halley's kind of like Sleepy Hollow retelling, and this is an MFM romance as well. This is a duology, so the second book is called Legend. I just don't have that physical copy, but this plot is so heavy and so, it's like tightly woven. There's layers. I mean, you've got witches, you've got like the Headless Horseman, you've got this like coven witch school, there's blood magic in here, and there's just a lot going on in the best way. Like Karina Halley just writes the most unique romances in my opinion. Like her range is just so phenomenal, and this is one of my favorite books from her, just because I think like you really have no idea what's going to happen. Like she keeps you guessing the entire time. You're so invested, and the romance dynamic is also really fascinating, because you have like a student professor with her and Ichabod Crane, and then you have Brahm, who is from her childhood that has like been missing forever, and then he's like all of a sudden back, and then you find out along the way that Brahm and Ichabod also knew each other during the time that he was missing. So there's like all these connections that you're just like finding out along the way, and it just makes the romance that much deeper. I mean, Sleepy Hollow, if you've seen like the Johnny Depp movie, for example, it's like that like remote town. It's like eerie and dark, and there's like the underlying magic that like no one really talks about. And she's going to this school that's like run by a coven, and you don't really like know their intentions. There's black magic, there's light magic, blood magic. Like it's just wow. Like this is a doozy in the best way. This gives you everything. And there are parts that'll like gross you out. There are parts that'll creep you out. There are parts that'll turn you on. There are parts that will make you cry from the sweet romance. And there are parts that'll make you laugh. Like it's literally everything. She checks all the boxes with this duology for sure. Next one is not dark at all, but it's still paranormal. This is My Roommate is a Vampire. This one is definitely more of like the humorous, cozy side of romance, but you still have a paranormal aspect because she is moving in with someone who is a vampire. Basically, she's trying to find a place to rent. She's an artist, so you know how it is when you're a struggling artist. It's expensive. So she is trying to find a really cheap place to rent, and she finds this place and she's like, this seems too good to be true. And yep, it kind of is. This guy has been, I'm pretty sure he's been like not hibernating. I don't know what it's called when vampires are like put to sleep, but I think there was some kind of like curse or spell on him or something to where he has been asleep for like centuries. So it's funny because it's like him learning how to be like in the modern world, like a cell phone. He's never seen that before. Like even like the pots and pans he has to buy for her. He's like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. She goes into his apartment and there's like old furniture and like everything's dusty and she's just like, what am I getting into? So yeah, it's a rom-com, but I think because of the vampire element and because of the paranormal aspect, like it was fun. And I think it's a great one to read in the fall season if you're a scaredy cat like me and you don't want something super scary. This is a safe bet if you still want something paranormal. Then we have Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. This is perfect for like the practical magic, hocus pocus, like that kind of fall energy. Witchy autumnal vibes is what we're going for here, okay? This is a sapphic witch romance where it does give rom-com vibes too, but I think there's like an underlying like darkness to it that My Roommate is a Vampire doesn't have. So in this one, she is going to this town where it's run by magic and she comes from a long line of witches, but there's this like gauntlet that has to take place every certain number of years to determine like who's gonna be like the ruling family basically of the town, like who the magic is gonna like be the strongest with or something like that. And she has been away from the town for a long time, so she actually doesn't really have her magic because the town is what gives you the magic. So if you leave the town, then your powers go away, basically. So she's coming back to the small town and they are trying to rig the gauntlet to make sure that this particular family doesn't win. And she kind of gets involved with it and she ends up having to be kind of like the mediator of the gauntlet. And she has some romantic tension with one of the competing members of another family. So this one is really, really interesting. It's the first book in a series too, so I'm excited to pick up the next book of the series so I can like continue it. I think it'll be fun like every fall to just pick up the next one. So I read this last year, I'll read book 2 this year, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you like the witchy, like practical magic, charmed, that kind of vibe, and it's sapphic, which is great because we need more women loving women. So yeah, if you like a romance with a little bit of magic, definitely check this out. And last but certainly not least, we have Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert. Now this was originally published as 3 separate like smaller books, but now it's being published as like this bind up of all 3 in one. So now it's like one story with 3 parts in it is basically how she republished it. And in this one, the female main character is being sold by her father to this guy who's a vampire, and she's basically supposed to be like his blood maiden. Like she is supposed to be there just for him to feed off of, and she's being used in this like political move by her father. So she feels scared and lonely and betrayed, and she's like worried about what this is going to mean for her and her safety. And it just kind of goes from there. I don't want to give any spoilers because this plot is incredible. You are so invested. This is over 500 pages and I read it in one sitting. Like I picked this up, I think it was like a Saturday or a Sunday sometime on the weekend, and I literally read it in one sitting, and it's over 500 pages. So if that doesn't tell you how great this plot is, then I don't know what will. Just please take my word for it. This also ends up being like a why choose reverse harem situation because there are 2 other characters that end up coming into the mix. This is very spicy, very smutty. If you don't like smut and spice in your romance, first of all, what are you doing on my channel? Sorry. Second of all, no, in all seriousness, if you like spice and smut, maybe not a lot of it, like I don't know if this would be the right one for you because there's a lot of smut in here, but it's not like unnecessary. Like in my opinion, it really does help drive the story forward, and it really does make sense with the plot. Like I personally don't mind it, and I love it when it's done right. And Katie Robert knows how to use the sex scenes and the smut and the spiciness to actually make it part of the story and part of the character development. Like this is definitely one of those books where you wouldn't be able to skip those scenes because they matter. Like they really do drive the story forward. So I personally think it's worth it. Like I said, I read it in one sitting, over 500 pages. Like that should tell you how good this book is. I kind of want to reread this one too. This is basically just me making like my own fall TBR apparently, because I just love rereading my favorite books, and this is a great one. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video. Please give this video a like if you want to see more like this, and leave a comment down below telling me what books you like to read in the fall season. Also tell me like what shows and movies you guys like to watch in the fall, because I'm trying to create my own like fall watching bucket list, if you will, with TV shows and movies, so let me know. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.